Hi, I'm Teja Gerken with Peghead Nation, and today I'm here with Taylor's brand new Gold Label 717 guitar. This is a very interesting instrument that I think is a perfect example of how a guitar kind of evolves within Taylor's line. It's the latest version of the Grand Pacific design, which was originally introduced back in 2019. It was the first guitar that was built from the ground up with Andy Powers V-Class bracing. And interestingly, it was kind of packaged in this traditional looking slope shoulder dreadnought design. So from the start it was a guitar that kind of fused some very modern construction techniques and design elements with almost a vintage kind of a vibe, and was designed to also do that sonically, to kind of have the clarity and precision that you get with the V-Class bracing in a format that might appeal to players who are more traditional than some typical Taylor players who might play grand auditoriums with cutaways or similar instruments. Now Andy Powers has sort of taken another look at the Grand Pacific format, and he's sort of reintroduced the line using some of the design and construction elements that were introduced earlier this year with the Gold Label series, which of course came out with a pair of super auditorium guitars, and those design features primarily include a new adaptation of the V-Class bracing. This is what they called their fanned V-Class bracing, and it's basically V-Class bracing sort of from the neck block down to the bridge. You have these two braces going down this way, and almost a classical guitar type fan behind the bridge. So still very different from a traditional X bracing. I think it introduces some more of the overtone spectrum that we might be used to with a more traditionally built guitar, infuses it with some of the V-Class quality. So it kind of further takes this particular slope shoulder dreadnought guitar into a kind of hybrid of what we might call vintage appearance and design and a modern tonality, but with a little bit more of a nod to the overtone rich kind of traditional sound. The other major design difference between the Gold Label guitars and previous Taylor models is a completely new neck joint that Taylor calls the Action Control neck. It's a long tenon design, and it is adjustable with a bolt on the inside of the neck block that is accessible through the sound hole. The adjustment changes the pitch of the neck, and by that you can actually adjust the action of the guitar with the turn of a bolt. It's super easy, and that is a fantastic feature, not only to fine-tune the guitar for a particular player, but also to perform adjustments as the guitar moves over time, and certainly would make something like a neck reset a matter of something that you can do in seconds rather than having to do a tech do the work. The Gold Label guitars also use a new peghead shape, different logo design, slightly different pickguard shape, and one interesting element of them is that while the bridge shape is familiar from the Builder's Edition Taylor guitars, they're using Honduras rosewood for the bridge and ebony for the fingerboard. Most steel string guitars have used the same material for the fingerboard and bridge. However, in the classical guitar tradition, using usually a lighter wood for the bridge than the fingerboard is common practice. It's almost the standard, and I think it's a very interesting thing that Andy Powers has introduced on these guitars, because it does take advantage of a different density, different weight of the bridge than what's used on the fingerboard, and certainly plays into the tonality of these Gold Label guitars. So this being a 717, the guitar uses rosewood, Indian rosewood back and sides, and a Sitka spruce top. And another thing that I really took note of with this particular guitar is that it kind of goes back to what the 700 series was originally for Taylor. It was originally a rosewood and spruce guitar with kind of simple appointments. For many years, the 700 series was sort of just one step below the 800s, offering essentially the same tonality as the 800s with a plainer appearance. And more recently, the 700s have used some different woods and some different design elements to kind of distinguish them a little bit more. But as someone who's been around Taylors for a long time, I'm really enjoying seeing this sort of look back at what the 700 series has traditionally been within the Taylor line, and that being a rosewood and spruce guitar with relatively simple appointments. In the case of this guitar, the appointments include white binding, black and white purfling, simple black and white rosette, simple fingerboard dot inlays, fire stripe pickguard. So again, fairly simple, and you could say definitely kind of vintage inspired on this. Another thing that is interesting about these latest Grand Pacifics is that Andy has increased the body depth. So these guitars are full 5 inches deep. The original Grand Pacifics were 4 and 5/8. So that gives you a little bit more bottom end, a little more oomph. Of course, there are other changes to the guitar's design, so it's hard to know exactly what does what, but the overall sonic picture is definitely very impressive. I'm in drop D tuning right now. And definitely has a lot of bottom end, a lot of richness in the low end, and certainly I think this new bracing pattern, this fanned V-class bracing, tends to reintroduce some richer overtone spectrum than the standard V-class bracing had to offer. And it's a different tonality. You might lose a little bit of the clarity and the sort of precision that you get with the V-class bracing, but it does introduce a little bit more, for lack of a better term, sort of a vintage tonality with these instruments. Let me tune the bottom string back up to standard E. Give you a little bit of a sense of what the guitar might sound like if I'm just playing some sort of rhythm in G with a flat pick. Great full tone, quite a bit of volume, and of course we have the Taylor typical playability. It's got the, even though the neck has the new joint, it really feels like a standard Taylor neck, 1 3/4 inches at the nut. Not too slim, nice rounded profile on the back of the neck, great fretwork. So very comfortable to play, and of course the playability can really be adjusted to the player very easily with this adjustable neck. So even though this guitar is a very modern interpretation of a slope shoulder dreadnought design and has the Taylor DNA at its core, it does offer a lot of the kind of slope shoulder dreadnought qualities. Great rhythm guitar sound, as you heard earlier, great clarity, great playability, and of course these guitars are very versatile, and a lot of people use slope shoulder dreadnoughts for sort of backing themselves or others up playing fingerstyle, and this is no exception. I'd say the guitar is probably most comfortable with a little heavier attack, but even soft fingerstyle playing really brings across a rich tonality. It's definitely fun to play that way. And again, the 1 3/4 inch neck width definitely helps making it a comfortable guitar for playing fingerstyle. One other difference that separates the Goat label guitars from standard Taylors is that instead of using Taylor's own ES2 electronics, Andy Powers chose to equip these with LR Baggs electronics. And that is the Element VT system, uses the Element under saddle pickup. That's a pickup that Baggs has used on many of its systems for quite a while. Great sounding pickup, combined with onboard controls for volume and tone. There's a 9-volt battery inside the body. Nice thing about this is there are no holes cut for any controls on the upper bout here, or the larger battery compartment in the back. So it really kind of goes in line with this idea of making the guitar a little bit more vintage-like, a little bit more traditional. So that is the new Taylor Goat Label 717. I should also add that there is a mahogany version of this guitar, the 517, and there are a couple of different finish options, including sunbursts and blacktop versions of these guitars, so that's very cool. Another aspect of these is that they are priced fairly affordably. This guitar is $27.99. The mahogany version, I think, is $24.99. And that puts them quite a bit lower than the original Goat label Super Auditoriums, which of course used more exotic woods than these guitars, but those were in the $4,000 range. So you're getting a lot of these new innovations, the new bracing, the new neck joint on a guitar that really is sort of at the mid-level of what Taylor has in their catalog. And I think that's very cool to see these features introduced at a guitar that is in that range of the Taylor offerings. So I'm going to go out and show you what the LR Baggs electronics sound like through my Fishman Loudbox Mini Charge Amp. If you're seeing this on YouTube, please come over to pegheadnation.com, not just for our many gear demos, but also for our many courses for guitars and other stringed and fretted instruments. We've got more than 70 courses with 30 plus instructors, so if you haven't come over to check that out, we'd encourage you to do so. My name is Teja Gerken. Let's listen to the guitar plugged in.